Let's take a journey back to Cleveland, Ohio, during the 1930s. The Great Depression had left the city struggling. Jobs were few, hope was fading, and daily life was tough. But something even more unsettling began to stir. A series of disturbing discoveries would lead to one of the most chilling unsolved cases in American history. The press eventually gave the person responsible a chilling nickname, the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run. And what makes this story truly haunting? The person behind it was never caught. It all began in September 1934. A man walking near Lake Erie stumbled across part of a human body. Shortly after, more remains were found nearby. The victim, a woman, was never identified. What shocked investigators was the precise way the body had been handled, suggesting knowledge of anatomy or even medical experience. Just a few months later, in January 1935, a second body appeared. This time it was a man, again dismembered with similar precision. There was little blood at the scene, leading some to believe the person had died elsewhere. This suggested that whoever was behind this had a location to work from, and possibly access to tools that allowed for this kind of methodical dismemberment. As time went on, the number of victims grew. Each case mirrored the last. Some remains were found in shallow streams. Others were wrapped in cloth or tucked away in alleyways. The scenes weren't chaotic. They were chillingly organized. The person responsible wasn't acting on impulse. This was methodical, planned, and deeply unsettling. From 1934 to 1938, at least 12 victims were discovered. But unofficial estimates suggest the true number could be as high as 20. Many of the victims were never identified, and that in itself tells a story. Most of them came from society's margins, individuals experiencing homelessness, those doing day labor, or people simply trying to get by during desperate times. This made the killer even more dangerous, because he was targeting people who often didn't have others to notice they were gone. Now at this point, you might be wondering, who was trying to stop this? Enter Eliot Ness. Yes, that Eliot Ness, the same lawman known for helping bring down Al Capone during Prohibition. After Prohibition ended, Ness became the safety director of Cleveland. In simple terms, he was the city's top official in charge of public safety. And when the Torso murders gripped the city in fear, Ness stepped in. He wasn't just a figurehead. Ness brought in top investigators and forensic experts, and even tried a new technique at the time: psychological profiling. The city was desperate, and Ness was determined to restore order. But despite the resources, every lead eventually went cold. The person responsible was always one step ahead. Bodies kept appearing. Clues were minimal. The public grew more anxious, and the pressure on Eliot Ness became unbearable. In 1938, the case took a dark turn. 2 more victims were discovered, this time in a city dump, frighteningly close to a police station. It felt like a taunt, a direct challenge to those investigating. Ness had had enough. In what would become the most controversial move of his career, Ness ordered a raid on Kingsbury Run, a makeshift community of shelters and tents where many unhoused people lived. Entire shantytowns were demolished. Some were set ablaze. The area was cleared entirely. The rationale: if the killer was hiding among them, they'd have nowhere left to disappear. Did it work? That depends on who you ask. The murders stopped after that raid. There were no more bodies found that fit the killer's pattern. Some believed the person fled. Others speculated that Eliot Ness had quietly discovered who was responsible but couldn't make a public arrest due to lack of legal evidence. There are even those who believe that the person might have taken their own life or left the country altogether. But the story doesn't end there. During the investigation, one suspect stood out, a medical professional with a troubling history. He was referred to in official records only as Dr. X. He had been institutionalized in the past and was rumored to have an unusual interest in human anatomy. There were even reports that he had informally confessed, but never in a way that could be used in court. Ness personally questioned him. And although the evidence wasn't strong enough to make a formal arrest, Ness used his political connections to have the man committed to a secure mental institution. No trial, no public announcement, just silence. Was it justice or a cover-up? Opinions remain divided. Some say Ness did what he had to do to protect the public. Others believe the move swept uncomfortable truths under the rug. What's certain is this: the case was never officially closed, and Dr. X was never charged. And that left a lot of open questions and a heavy silence over Cleveland. Over the decades, dozens of theories have emerged. Some think it wasn't the work of a single person at all, but possibly a small group. Others point to someone with access to cadavers, like a medical student or former military surgeon. A few have speculated that the killer may have been someone working within law enforcement or local government, using their position to stay ahead of the investigation. And then there are the more speculative theories, linking the case to other unsolved crimes across the country, suggesting a mobile killer traveling between cities. But without concrete evidence, these ideas remain theories, and nothing more. One tragic element of the case is how many victims remain unknown. No names, no histories, no families to remember them by name. Just anonymous lives lost in a terrifying chapter of the city's past. Eliot Ness, who once stood tall against organized crime in Chicago, spent the rest of his life haunted by the case. He never solved it. And when he passed away, many said the Cleveland torso murders were the one mystery that never let him go. Even today, the memory of the case lingers in Cleveland. Walk through the old Kingsbury Run area, and you'll hear locals talk in hushed voices. Some spots are marked by historical interest, while others are simply remembered in stories passed down from grandparents to grandchildren. Why does this story still matter? Because it remains unfinished. We are drawn to mysteries. We crave resolution. We want to believe that justice is always served. But real life isn't always like the movies. Some crimes go unsolved. Some truths are buried too deep to find. The Cleveland torso murders remind us that danger doesn't always come from strangers in the dark. Sometimes it hides behind polite smiles or quiet neighbors. And sometimes it vanishes before we even know it was there. So the next time you read about a cold case or hear of a mystery that still haunts a city, remember Cleveland. Remember Kingsbury Run. Remember the victims whose names we never learned. And remember that some stories just refuse to stay buried.